else, and I don't know who I was with that week.
So you didn't get any action with Shufflebotham or a friend?
No. And then as she got older, she went a bit off. She didn't look that good. She's probably nice now. It's just, I mean, I'll say about myself, when you get to sort of the end of secondary school, you do sort of go a bit odd looking.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? When your sort of head grows funny.
I would just love to go back to his school of that era. I mean, just what happened to people where they're, you know, all people sprouting limbs.
No, do you know
and
what I
things.
mean? When you're like 12 and that, you're quite... No, not 12. When you're 10. When you're 7 to 10, you sort of look healthy, and you look at your pictures when you go, yeah, I was a good-looking lad. But then when you get to late secondary school, something happens, and you just look a bit odd.
Okay, well, what about Alison Thorpe?
Not sure about her. I sort of know the name, can't put a face to it.
Damien Comer?
Again, know the name, can't remember anything.
No.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Well, these are pretty much all the names I could find. We've had some interesting thoughts, though, and interesting anecdotes.
Yeah.
Anyone in particular that you'd like to say hello to that maybe listening now that
No, I think I would have mentioned Darren Buckley if you hadn't brought him up.
Oh, right.
He was like me buddy.
Yeah. Did you ever see the Magpie game when you took it to the school and confused it?
No.
You're joking. That was the end of it, was it?
Yeah.
So where did it go?
Probably to some other kid. Because I mean, actually, it probably got killed. Because if it was being that friendly with other people, some people might have took advantage of it.
In what way?
Well, there was a programme on the other week about...
What, in the way that Shufflebotham was trying to take advantage of you?
Yeah.
There was a programme on the other week about bear whisperers.
Yeah.
And some blokes got really friendly with a bear, and then when they were leaving that area where the bear was, they said, oh, we've caused a problem here, because there's some bear hunters coming in and moving into this area, and it's going to get a bullet if it acts like this, so they had to scare it away, and that's what I should have done with Maggie. I should have terrified it a little bit, so it wouldn't trust humans.
Just introduced it to some of your schoolmates, I'm sure would have freaked it right out.
Well, the ones with
Maybe
the
that was
big
why it
heads.
fled.
It didn't see. Oh no! It didn't see those two fellas with big heads and webbed hands coming towards it, did it?
That would have terrified anything. It's like a scarecrow, like two walking scarecrows. Listen, have we got time for a song for the ladies? What's happening? We've not really thought.
Quick then, quick, just do it, just do it. Thanks very much.
Hang on, no, we haven't lined anything up, have we?
I was going to play Mary Lawson and that for you. And then
Is this going to be the final track?
It has to be.
it would be, yeah.
We've blown it. We've blown it on the Carl special.
We have indeed.
I'll play it next week. So Carl there's got an E at history in GCSE. Any history teachers, anyone who can help Carl out, I think we should try and register him and take it this June. So
what's your homework for this week?
You've got to read about Che Guevara, haven't you? The revolutionary leader.
Okay.
Do you know anything about him at all? Have you got any basis?
I just know that if you want to use his face on your business, it costs a lot of money. Do you know, like, if McDonald's wanted to have him as, like, instead of Ronald McDonald?
How does he do it? Steve, how does he do it, man?
Oh, we listen, just play a final record, Carl. Say goodbye, and we'll see you next week.
Alright.
See you later.
Cheers, mate.
Oh, regret is a terrible thing.
Pete Yawn for Nancy on XFM 104.9. I'm Ricky Gervais, with me Steve Merchant.
Hello there.
Pilkington. Steve, you got any other toilet related anecdotes?
Rick, my life is just full of toilet trauma.
Yeah.
And Carl, you may not realise this, but a while back I used to host, this is bizarre, I used to host a radio show on the BBC World Service, right? Now, if you want someone who's the voice of integrity, the voice of intelligence, the voice of a nation, you're going to come to me. That's obvious. And I was broadcasting to, now they've got listeners of something like 50, 60 million people around the world. It's mental, the listenership of the World Service. And I used to host this show with someone
It's a big
else.
place, Steve.
The World?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And anyway, so I had to be into Bush House where they broadcast from 10 o'clock every Friday morning to broadcast around the world to 50 million people, right? And one week, I just went to the toilet in my house, right? Everyone had left. I got there a bit late. I got up a bit late. Already against me. The clock was already against me. Had to be there at 10 o'clock, broadcast around the world. And we got two toilets in our house, downstairs one, right? And the door had already been a bit dodgy. It was one of those doors where you had to give it a bit of a kick as you went in. It was getting a bit tight. I don't know what the wood was expanding or something. You know, I'm in there, and same thing again happens. No toilet paper. I think, oh God. I'm going to have to somehow kind of make it up.
Why don't you check first?
I normally do, Rick. I normally do. It's just on certain occasions when I'm bleary-eyed or something, I forget, or occasionally I forget. Normally I do check. And you've got to bear in mind that it's not like this is happening every week. This is over the course of many years that these incidents have accumulated. So
You've condensed them.
For the purposes of this anecdote.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes. And great. You're just brilliant to keeping the pace up of an anecdote there, Rick. You've just drawn in. I don't know where I am now. Anyway, I know where I am. I'm trapped in a toilet with no toilet paper. That's where I am. And I'm thinking maybe I'd peel off some of the wallpaper, things like that. But there's nothing I can do. I've got to go upstairs. Well, exactly. But I've got to go upstairs and find
Toilet paper? Was there any?
There wasn't.
There wasn't. Oh.
I'll have to go upstairs and maybe find a notepad or something like that. And so I try the door. Right, the door's wedged. And I'm pulling on the door, and I can't get the door open. It's just like it won't come open, and it's already. And I knew it was going to come to this at some point. Like this is like the clock's ticking. I'm trying to pull the door open. Trousers around my ankles again, and I'm thinking, well, what I could do is I could open the window, I suppose, and like try and climb out, but not really because I got the trousers around the ankles.
Or if it was raining, just stick your ass out. 2 birds with one stone.
Sadly, it was a beautiful day, Rick.
I call it the World Bee Day.
And so what I'm thinking is, well, I've got my mobile phone in there, like, because it's in my pocket. I'm thinking, well, maybe I could phone. I was seriously thinking,
Kleenex.
Maybe I'll phone the fire brigade.
By this point, I mean, just dried.
No, it hadn't. It was.
Hold on, was that little puppy not around? Because sometimes you can call that, it's got a little bit wrapped round it.
Listen.
Or just use the puppy itself.
There's 50 million people around the world going to hear my voice in like 30 minutes.
Exactly.
And
where's Steve? He's not locked in the toilet again, is he?
Exactly.
Oh, no.
So I'm thinking about phoning the fire brigade, and I'm thinking, like, if I do that, it's gonna be the first call that goes straight on the speakerphone.
Yeah.
For like the entire fire brigade service.
With a
everywhere.
butch hero carrying you down over his shoulders with your trousers around your ankles. Can I just not pull him up? No, you've got to be taught a lesson.
Yeah. But I imagine the idea of phoning up and going, hello there, I'm trapped in a room in my house. Oh yeah, which one is it? Oh, I don't need to know.
It's quite small. Is it?
Yeah. It's not the toilet, is it? Because we don't want to come and rescue someone who's trapped in the toilet.
Which service do you require? Paper.
So I think I can't find the fire brigade. The clock's ticking. So then I think one of my housemates is still in the house, but still asleep. So I phone the house number. Right, phone rings and rings and rings for ages, and eventually he answers the phone. Right, and gets out of bed, answers the phone. Yeah, hi, it's Steve. All right, what's wrong?
What are you doing? What are you doing? All right, yeah. Oh, I didn't wait. No. What are you doing? Oh, just in the toilet.
Downstairs in the toilet.
Oh, yeah, what are you doing? Oh, well, I've finished what I'm... Have you got any toilet paper?
Any bog roll?
Yeah.
So he had to kind of scrape together a few bits of paper, and sort of tinfoil or whatever he could find in the house.
A cactus.
Oh,
no.
Pass it underneath the door. Right, and then I said, "Can you move away from the door because I don't want you to hear me as I'm, wiping the." And so
he didn't say that.
Yeah, well, I didn't want him to. That's
That's
embarrassing.
What were you wiping it with? Not tumbleweed. What do you mean? What noise?
I know what you mean.
Yeah, no, exactly. So then I say, right, can you?
Why was he hovering? Why didn't he want to walk away? Will you keep your what was it outside with a glass to his ear?
Yeah. Thankfully, there was a window in the door, but it was frosted glass. You could just see my semi-naked body moving around. And so eventually I said to him, look, listen, I'm going to need you to sort of kick the door in. He said, well, I don't want to kick the door in because you're going to have to pay for it, aren't we? I go, yeah, but I've got to go to the World Service. Well, yeah. And he was a lovely man. He's the weakest man you've ever come across. It's like if there's one person you don't want to have to throw their body weight against the door, it's him. It's like he'll snap before the door will. So he's smashing against
This
the door.
sounds like a fetish to me then. He went in there and there you were naked with lots of toilet paper. And you go, oh, you've broken the door down and there I am naked. Again.
Oh, you've rumbled me, Rick. I wish I'd not told that embarrassing story on the radio. Like it wasn't embarrassing enough, you've just got to make it slightly more seedy.
Oh, so did he get it down?
He did it, yeah, and I got to the World Service with like minutes to spare.
Oh.
And interestingly, I told that story to 50 million people around the world.
Did they understand?
I think so.
I mean, is that a bit of a problem when you're on the World Service? Like, thinking of things that everyone can understand?
Yes.
Because you can't
It's a
just
bit like when
talk
talking
about-
to you.
Yeah, exactly, Carl. I think you're on thin ice there, worrying about people understanding what you're
No,
saying.
but you can't talk about stuff that's on the telly and that, because some people say, well, we haven't even got a telly here.
Oh, yeah, you're listening to XFM 104.9. Play a record.
It's because you're a racist.
That's right, you're against, you hate Welsh people.
I actually think that it might just be because of a difference different stereotype.
Nirvana, All
and that
Apologies,
is
and
the
XFM
rocker
104.9 on Ricky
stereotype.
Gervais,
Genre
obviously,
is.
with me, Steve
The
Merchant.
rocker
Steve,
stereotype,
I
you
met
know,
up with.
you
I know
guy
it's
who does
forbidden,
nothing in
usually.
school,
I don't know why you
Let me
keep
just
doing it.
explain to the listener.
Until one day
Me and Steve have got a little bit of a pact. We're
discovered
not
and
allowed to
makes
talk
it
to
big.
Carl
Or
during the
until
week
one day
because he
you find
comes
yourself
out
working in
with
a gas
too
station
much
for the rest of your
dynamite,
life.
and we want it to be
No,
fresh,
that's
and
not the way the stereotype
it's just
goes.
unfair. And
Well,
if
the
he
other thing
sees us
about
laughing,
Ricky, too,
he
is that
clams up
after
a little bit
school and
because
everything,
he knows
still read a
something's
lot. He was
wrong
actually into
with his
literature
head.
and, yeah,
So,
kind of
Got a degree in political history.
I was in a
like,
pub,
he's a very
and
learned guy.
Yeah,
Carl
he
called,
was,
we
yeah,
returned a
yeah,
call, I'd
smart
called you
guy
earlier,
and
innit?
read
And I
a
said,
lot
oh,
of
I'm just across
important
the
books, all
road,
kinds of
right,
stuff,
come
and
over.
talk intelligently
And
about
he
stuff.
came over,
But, I
and
mean,
we had a
he must be
conversation,
there, though.
and
haven't
I
listened
kept
to
saying,
his
no,
music.
save it, and I can't remember half the things he was saying, but I do remember one thing he said.
So
He
there's
said
two ways
that
to
the
split
human
hairs on
eye
that.
never
He
grows.
was not necessarily
It's the,
a
he said,
good
unlike your ears and
musician
nose that
Not at
keeps
all.
growing all
in
your
terms of
life.
being able to play
He
an
says the human
instrument.
eye never
He had
grows.
some
Now there's a
other
little bit of.
talents that were
He says, now you
very,
look at a
very
baby, it's got big eyes.
influential, and
It's
we'll
got the
talk about
same
those in a
size
bit.
eyes as it will have.
When
Well,
a
it's not-
baby's born, everyone always goes, "Oh, look at its
He wasn't
eyes,"
very
don't they?
good
Because
at
that's like the main
Well,
feature.
the good
They're
news
quite
is
big.
for alt-rock doesn't
They don't
matter.
grow. They don't get any smaller. They stay the same size.
Edwards initially
What you mean,
started
once you become an
out
adult, you have the
working
same size
for
No.
the
eyes?
band
Soon as you
as
come out of
a
the womb,
driver and a
your
roadie.
eyes,
And
the
through a
size they are
process that
as a
I'm
little
not
baby,
completely
they
clear on,
stay
he
the same
somehow
size.
So he
It's not the
does.
sockets.
managed
And I
to
said, I pointed out to him,
run
right,
a
you know, I said,
member
if that was true, Steve Merchant, when he was a baby, with these eyes he's got now, would have looked like a hammerhead shark.
All right, calm down. You don't want to
band.
go lay into the eyes.
Do you know what I mean? Just to prove my point.
I didn't laugh.
Starting out
Good.
as a
When he said
roadie.
that.
It's just,
Respect.
It's weird.
Do you know what I mean, though? Imagine-
I've got the eyes are the windows of the soul, and mine are, happen to be enormous
French
plate glass
windows.
windows. But you know, but nevertheless, they're beautiful. Many people find them beautiful.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, many people do. But
Do you know they don't have kneecaps either?
My eyes, or
what?
Babies. When they're born, they don't get kneecaps until they're about 2.
They don't get.
Is that true?
I had heard
And
that.
also,
What are
Yeah,
you
it might be
talking
true,
about,
it might
Carl?
be
That's,
true.
but isn't it like isn't it a little bone in? It's part of the.
Well, no, but all
the
that
leg bone.
you've got lot more bones when you're born than
yeah, you got
eventually.
300 when you're born, then 205 when you're an adult.
Yeah, they all fuse, don't they?
Do they?
The head's got to be all soft to come out.
Right.
As we said earlier, you know.
I would know. I'm a shark.
Oh,
So what
God.
did you say when he said about my eyes being huge?
Okay, get off it.
So that isn't nice, considering he's not here. I said I wait until he's here when I slag him off.
Yeah, very well. No, nice one, Carl. You're an honourable man.
Oh, well, I know, you see, the thing is, right, that made me think that it might be a little bit of truth in this.
There is as well,
that-
the ear thing. Have you seen that with old
That's
men
true,
who have
yeah.
really long ears
Yeah,
and big noses?
yeah.
You mean
Do
that-
they eat buns and walk around in the jungle, these old
You
men?
mean that the ears and the nose carry on growing?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do, that's true. That's true, it's cartilage. it
Yeah, but
goes.
it's not like sort of Pinocchio.
No, after you're dead. You leave a body lying around, he's got huge elephant type
Really?
ears.
If you left him long enough?
4-foot nose, that's what, yeah.
No.
No,
remarkable.
but you see,
Okay.
it's about the focal
Material, so,
uh,
okay, why
length
not?
in your eye, you see, because it's like a big lens. So it makes sense that they couldn't change that much. Because an owl, do you know why an owl turns its head round? Sort of like 180 degrees.
No.
Because it can't move its eyes, because the eyes take up the whole, it's the biggest eye in the animal. The eyes take up the whole of its skull.
Really?
Yeah, and it has to move its, yeah.
Has it got a brain in there as well?
It's got a brain in there, yeah, above the eye. Yeah. When I say the whole of the skull,
Quite, yeah. There's
Yeah.
also some space for the brain.
what I meant is the two diameters of the eye is the diameter of the...
You've lost me there with diameters.
You didn't like maths, did you?
No, don't like maths. Never understood it. Couldn't get to grips with maths. I don't know about you, Carl.
Did you do maths, Carl?
Now, how did you do in your exams on the maths? Did you do that? I bet yours was rather like my theory, which is why do you need to figure it all out when you've got a calculator?
Exactly.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Well, let's play a record, and afterwards I'm going to be testing you on your homework this week, Carl.
Could we do White Van Man first?
We could do, just to, no, they've got to know
just to
what
remind
they're
people.
dealing with, yeah. Carl's homework was to read all about, as you know, Che Guevara.
Absolutely.
Last week he did well on Rasputin, didn't he?
Did very well on Rasputin.
and
Passed with flying marks there.
Let's have a bit of Wu-Tang, shall we?
And let's have White Van
Oh.
Man. White Van Carl. No.
Yeah.
You know, what's also an absurd response to it is what Edwards did in response to prove how committed and how
Wu-Tang Clan,
serious
Steve.
his art.
XFM 104.9 with Steve Merchant and Carl Pilkington. Now, I just, Ramon, something else, Carl's in the week. I know it's forbidden to talk to him, but I'll tell you this. He was very excited about the Friends reunited. He was a bit nervous at first, wasn't he, last week? But he was really getting into it. And in the pub he was talking about the people, he said, I'd never go on a reunion though. So I'd never do that.
What, a school reunion?
Yeah, and he wouldn't want to see anyone. And I went, well, I said, wouldn't you want to see those two lads with the big heads and the webbed hands?
Oh yeah, these were people you went to school with, weren't they?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't knock about with them. They were in the class.
What were they called?
Freaks.
Right. And he said, no, I wouldn't want to see them. He said, because what could you say? Oh, you haven't changed much. Right. And he said, and they wouldn't go anyway, would they? I said, why? He went, well, they didn't have any friends. And I said, well, weren't they friends with each other? And he went, no, that would have been too obvious. Like, they passed each other and went, no, I know it's tempting, but let's not.
Everyone would think that's just what we were going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So they didn't even hang around with each other.
No.
See, I must say, in my head, I've got something like, it's like some sort of extra thing from Blake 7. That they're like some sort of, lagoon monster. But they just had slightly oversized heads, did they?
See, does your head grow? Your eyes don't, does your head? Because maybe they've got to a point now that it's all sort of caught up with each other.
Well, at the time, the eyes were very small and the head was huge.
Just a very big head.
Have you ever seen the
And
Yeah.
I mean, the fingers aren't going to change, that's not...
It's like
They had webbed fingers.
It was like the penguin in Batman.
Really? Are you sure?
No, honestly.
Are you sure they weren't wearing mittens?
No, seriously.
Yeah, it wasn't home economics. They weren't getting something out of the oven, a very hot dish, weren't they? Every time you saw them.
But why were there two, but they weren't related and they weren't friends?
I don't know, I suppose it's like asthma and that, innit? Some kids have it. And it just was a
Yeah,
coincidence.
but asthma's quite a common thing. Webbed hands, Carl.
Was he really a
Yeah.
fan, or was
I don't know,
he
you
a
don't
member
think of it, do you,
Bible
when you're a
band?
kid? You just sort of...
Oh,
when,
yeah,
when you first see them.
Yeah.
There goes the frogmen. Anyway, Carl, let's have a little quick session of White Van Man. For those that don't listen to the show regularly, the Sun, as you may know, has a section called White Van Man where a member of the public gets asked their opinions on the week's big political and social hot potatoes. Carl, we just thought it would be fun if you answered some of the questions. There's not so much questions, it's just your views really on these big news stories. What do you make of Olympic ski hero Alan Baxter testing positive for drugs?
What did he do?
Well, he won a gold medal in the Olympics, and
For what?
he was a skier, and he won a gold medal, and they've just tested him positive for some kind of illegal drug.
Wow, he's got this.
But what-
Really
I mean, if he did,
interesting
why take
telephone
drugs to
pole
ski?
wire tattoo
Why
thing?
Because all you do
Yeah.
is balance.
But imagine, it'd be amazing if you were stoned, like going down a hill.
Yeah, it's not like you have
But
to...
it's not going to help you, is
No,
it?
it's
not
just
like-
gravity that's doing all the work, isn't it, with skiing?
Yeah, but it's often to do with your athleticism, isn't it? It's
No,
to
but it'd be
help you.
like saying, and we've just found out the people on the toboggan were on crack. It's not going to help them.
Cut himself, I would say.
You sit there and you go with the flow,
Yeah,
and you try and you hold
could
on.
I say, the drugs he was
Apparently
taking...
that's his defence,
Probably,
Carl.
he probably wasn't jacking up H or, dropping a few E's or getting stoned. He was probably taking more sort of,
Steroids.
performance-enhancing drugs, as opposed to him just, scoring some shit around the corner from someone,
that
getting
doesn't-
off his tits and jumping in a toboggan. Doesn't mean that, does it?
He wasn't off his nut.
Yeah. You tested you pissed out your head.
But why doesn't he just say, don't be stupid, why would I do that? It's just not going to help me out.
This is when.
But it is, isn't it? Because performance-enhancing
Oh,
drugs
no,
do.
wait a minute, Steve. Wait a minute, Carl. Right, look at this way. Okay, look at me. Yeah. Have I got his attention?
Yeah, the lights glinting off your ring there.
Yeah.
You're attracted to him.
Okay, right, no, keep concentrating. Right.
But
Some athletes, you're aware they take drugs, that's to build up
Swimmers
muscle.
and stuff.
Yeah, swimmers, for
Runners.
example, runners, yeah. Not only do they help build muscle, right, but they can actually, give them a boost performance-wise,
Yeah.
sort of like steroids and all this sort of stuff. Right? So that's the sort of thing we're talking about, okay?
Right, so
He
again,
wasn't
why
on a
would
bong
that help
before...
you?
What?
Why would that help you when all you've got to do is balance on skis?
Not when you're at the Olympic level.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do with, your body and
No,
your
it's
legs.
practice, isn't it? It's like, if you've skied for years, then you've got good balance after a bit.
Oh, do you know what, Carl? Do you know what? You've made a mockery of drug taking. Well done. Right, next one, Steve.
I hate this bit, I hate this.
I don't know if you saw it. What did you make of Posh Spice's Warts and All documentary?
Yeah, I saw a bit of it.
What do you make of it?
I mean, people are slagging him off, aren't they, saying, she's daft and that, but
Don't make you.
she's... I think they're alright, honestly.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
you're right.
she's alright. I mean, I think David's really a decent bloke.
Sure.
Would
you agree that he's quite a simple man?
Yeah, but he's a footballer. He doesn't need to be. Do you know what I mean? It's like me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, all right, I only got an E in history, but knowing about the Tudors doesn't help me press these buttons and put the next CD on.
No, sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So good luck to him, and he's done well out of it. And it's just jealousy. I remember though, when I was back in Manchester, was in Piccadilly train station, and he was there, right? Not as big a star as he is now, back then, but he was stood there, and I was so close to going over to him and saying, "Did you go to my school?" Because I recognised his face, but I didn't know who he was. Do you know when you sort of go, "Sure, I went to school. It's not the one with the big head," but I do recognise him. Then my girlfriend got off the train, and I said, "I'm sure I know him." She said, "Yeah, it's David Beckham." And I was so
thank
close
God
to
for your
going over.
girlfriend. Does she get an awful lot of scrapes, does she?
She does, yeah.
Okay, what about the fact that the pension crisis is going to force Britons to work into their 70s, Carl? You might have to carry on working into your 70s before you can claim a pension.
I think it's a good thing. Because you see a lot of old people who look bored.
Okay.
And I honestly think if you keep your brain busy,
Yeah.
you'll live longer.
Yeah.
It's only when you actually shut down, right, that's when your body sort of dies because it doesn't feel it has a purpose. It's like if you've got flu, keep going to work. If you have a day off, you just feel worse. You'll mope about at home. It doesn't do you any good.
What about where do you draw the line then? What if you say lose a finger? Pop into work?
Depends. If you can't concentrate because it's painful.
But what if you're a typist?
This is all a guess on my part.
You're not going to type as many words, but you'll do more at work than you would having a day off at home.
Sure. Okay. Tony Blair turning trendy with his Paul Smith designed naked lady shirt. I don't know if you've seen this. It's the one with the pictures of naked ladies on the cuffs.
You know, I mean,
Okay. And finally,
see, this is what annoys me about this feature.
Yeah, I know plenty
It's
of
just,
people
what's
who've
that?
done that.
So what?
Yeah, and
yeah, but it's the Prime Minister of this country wearing a trendy shirt with naked ladies on the cuffs.
This was his third trip, actually. He'd been there
Okay.
for a number of
And finally, what do you make of the fact that Top of the Pops have banned Will Young singing both tracks on the number one slot, and consequently he wasn't on there at all? They had to show the video. The first time anyone's ever made this demand. He wants to sing both the A and B side.
Well, he can't.
It's double A, yeah.
Double A side.
That's what he wanted.
That isn't how it works, is it?
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
And the thing is, which one?
Because he missed a lot of shows.
I mean, at the end of the day, loads of people have bought it, haven't they? Isn't it like one of the best? So it doesn't really matter what it does, because people have got it. They can listen to what song they want at home. It doesn't matter about what Top of the Pops do. And
Good point.
it's just annoyed me
So
now.
they really were just
I
losing
don't-
him on
it's-
vocals.
Who's annoyed you?
I mean,
This-
fair enough, right? That's
Just
a,
what
that's
goes
a
on in the
significant
world.
loss.
I'll tell you, you're better off not knowing.
You know,
It's better being in my little world.
We're gonna go to
If that's what people are
July
talking
of
about on the streets
1994.
and asking the white van man,
Richie
do you know what I mean?
I think you're right, Carl. I think you're right.
Jeez.
Shall I play a lovely song for you? Because you're getting all stressed now, aren't you?
I've not had a good day.
No, I know. We tell you about that. It's not a good day. Well, I'm going to play a Neil Young track here of Harvest. It's Alabama. It's beautiful. And this is for Carl.
He was drunk the whole time. At time, he was self-harming, so he was cutting himself, and his form of cutting himself was hurting himself.
Athlete, West Side. I still like that one.
Good track.
Yeah, I was worried that it's a bit novelty. It would go off very quickly. But it's good.
No,
Really
it's
like
not
it.
bad at all.
On XFM 104.9, I'm Richard Baines, with me Steve Merchant, Carl Pilkington, Steve.
Well, we were talking about the news just now, and there was a story I heard in the week. I think it was on the radio, and I don't know all the details. But what I heard was that a number of, I think it was Falkland, maybe Gulf War veterans, were, I think, suing or complaining to the government because they wanted compensation for post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes,
Now, I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but it seems to me that if you're in the army and you're a soldier, a certain degree of trauma is kind of inevitable. I mean, after all, if you're any good at your job, you are going to see people getting killed. So I don't understand what the ins and outs of it are. I don't know why.
No, when it came back and Tony Blair met him and go, alright, well not really, no. Go on, what's the matter? Well, if there was people shooting at us and everything, it was all muddy. Well, calm down, don't cry. Well, I will.
There was a drill sergeant just kept shouting, saying, "Look at you, stupid boy, where's this
he's
gun's
got
not
a
clean?"
train,
And I
hasn't
just
he?
cleaned the gun and it was fine, and now he's telling me to clean it
Yeah,
again.
and the boots, they were shiny. Well, he's got to do that, it's more
His
distant.
neck was as big as his head.
Well, yeah, but you don't know what they, you know.
I don't know what the ins and outs of it are, but
what you got to do is make sure you know what you're going into. That's what I do. You got to check the small print. So if I was, you know, going over to like the Falklands or the Gulf, I'd put my hand up and go, will it be horrible? I go, you hear it like this? Will it be horrible? It will be horrible. Yes, it will be horrible. There will be shooting and lots of death. And I go, right, I'm not going to go. And they go, okay then. Okay.
That should be fine, yeah.
Should be fine, yeah. Just like that. Is anyone else scared like this? Pretty much all of us. Okay, then we won't send anyone then.
My brother went into the army, right? Because he couldn't get a normal job, and my dad said, you know, if you don't get a job by such a date, that's it, son, you're going in the army. And, when was the Falklands? Was it about
81?
Right. And he joined back in like 81 or something. And I don't know, he was in Aldershot or something.
Oh yeah.
And he wrote back to my mum saying, you know, bad time to join, bad time in this. So she wrote.
Well, bad time to join. That's so sweet, Carl, isn't it? That's like, dear Dad. Yeah, well done.
Don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah. I was on the dole, that's for sure. Thank you for joining. A month before the Belgrano.
Anyway,
go on.
My mum called up, spoke to the sergeant, and said, "Can you leave him out of this one?"
Can you leave him out of this one? What, the Falkland War?
He's only just joined, and she called him Chuck, which he got done for. Like, she's one of them, I think it's a northern thing, like saying, how are you, Chuck? Yeah. And she called the sergeant Chuck, and the sergeant said to my brother, your mum, you know, she's called up and asked if you can not go.
So they sent Richie to rehab.
Of course, you know, I mean,
like an inpatient
we'll see how it goes.
What do you mean? Why did the sergeant even entertain this?
A lot of things.
Pilkington, come here. Your mum's been giving me a bit of earache. Now listen, tell her I've told you, but can you call her, because she called me Chuck and everything. Can you call her and say you don't mind? Well, not really. Oh, please, because I've promised her say you want to go. No, please, say you want to go. Why was he entertaining this phone call?
Probably because he was new.
What?
Because he was new to the army, I suppose.
Who? No, I mean the sergeant.
I don't know, maybe they do that.
So what happened? He didn't go in the end?
So he didn't go, no.
You can't do it.
That's ludicrous.
I love that. Oh, we went over the top. Pilkington, I've got a note. Yeah. Is this really your mum? Yeah. Okay, no, this seems to be in order.
Because I noticed it says, I do not want to go into the army, I don't want to go and fight, and it's crossed out and it's good, my mum says don't go. Now, you didn't write this yourself?
No, my mum wrote this. Okay,
definitely wrote this yourself.
Your excuse. You're going to have to fill envelopes.
No, I'm sure if he was needed, he would have had to go, but I think they made a bit of a special effort. They sort of said,
Well, it wasn't conscription anyway. Oh no, obviously.
Were the other soldiers going around just going, what?
Pilkington.
No, he ended up being a mechanic in there, and he got kicked out for going for a packet of fags in a tank.
That's a slippery slope, sir.
What? Now, wait a minute. Do you mean he nipped down the shops in a tank?
Yeah.
I don't believe that, Carl. You've
Honest
made
to
that.
God, that, and he went off with the sergeant's wife. So that didn't help, and he ended up getting kicked out.
Sorry, your brother's a genius.
I love this. First of all, he gets a call from his mum, go and let him up, and he goes, oh God. Then he goes, where's Pilkington? His mum's on the phone. Where is he? He's near your house, Sergeant. Near my house? Well, why is... No reason. Well, when he comes back, when he's finished, tell him his mum called. And can he get me a packet of fags? Tell him to walk this time.
Wow.
This is ludicrous.
So the sergeant found out that he was sleeping with his wife?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Did your mum phone up and say, let him off? No,
Let him
poor
off
Marshall.
this time. Can he... Yeah. That's fantastic.
But he misses it. I mean, I haven't seen him for about 11 years. But ever since he came out, he's just kept getting into trouble and that. In the army, you know, people slag it off, but I think if you're a certain type of person, it's good for
It
you.
didn't straight him in, how did it?
No.
He was going down the shops in a tank, he was shagging someone
No, but
behind their back.
it's
Yeah.
really weird. It's like back then, he was like a proper adult, and he had a house, and he collected crystal with his wife and that. And now, he hasn't got any of that.
Has he got the what?
No.
Has he got the crystal?
Don't think he has.
And he hasn't got the
I
house.
seriously haven't seen him for about 11 or 12 years. So I haven't even spoken
It
to
always
him.
Carl's stories always start off nice and funny, and then they just leave me empty and slightly depressed. I don't know whether to hug him or shoot him, put him out of his misery. Can we take Carl to the... phone in if you think I should take Carl to the vets and have him put down, because it's just too stressful.
How I would have approached it, but
It's again. Now, obviously, the band found him, stopped him.
Hides, main offender, XFM 104.9. Wow. It's that time in the show where I test Carl on his
homework.
Yeah, for the week. History, the re-education of Carl Pilkington. As you know, we found out last week that he'd taken one GCSE and he got an E, and it was history.
Do you know, Steve, I haven't told you this. Went shopping on Sunday.
It's not
Buy some new
nothing,
jeans. It's in a
but
shop.
as far as like a chest
Saw
wound
an old
goes,
lad who I haven't
But it's
seen
gotta
for
be
about
deep enough to
2.5
require
years.
stitches.
Went, you alright, mate? How are you doing?
You
First thing
know,
he
I mean,
said,
if I cut myself with a knife,
sorry to hear about your exam results.
accidentally flick myself with a
God.
razor blade.
I
Had
just-
he listened to the show, or someone had
Yeah,
just told
yeah, he
you?
was on a
But it's
train
gotta
listening
be
to it
deep
on the way
enough
to a
and you
football
gotta
match or something.
He knew that you were on the show,
skin
did he?
for him to
He
wanna
was
Yeah.
do
listening.
that.
Alright, that's fair.
First thing he said,
Yeah.
Point is,
sorry
he
to hear about
does
your
this.
exam results.
Haven't people have been coming up to you in the
Tour,
station going,
and on the
you all right,
30th
do you want to
or
talk about it,
the
or?
1st of December,
God.
Nikki
I know.
Well, you did take it pretty
goes outside
badly
of her hotel in
for a
Auburn,
29-year-old
Germany,
man.
Just a bit of a shock because it annoyed me that
It wasn't a shock. You knew you hadn't got any.
No, I thought I'd have got a bit more than that. I wasn't expecting, you know.
But you didn't even think you took history, so that must have been a bonus.
Yeah, that's what my girlfriend said.
Excellent friends would
Yeah.
So, well,
But didn't
yes-
she say something quite philosophical, which was like, you know, you didn't even have a knee this morning?
Yeah, she said yesterday, you know, you didn't have anything
Yeah.
today, which
Exactly.
was good.
Yeah.
And I think about
But
how
anyway.
like
Anyway, okay then, well, you were tested on Che Guevara. Right, Carl.
We should just hang on. We should just remind people what happened because
This
last
is a
week
little
you gave-
series. I've got lots of these little books, right? They're about like 2.5 inches long by about 2 inches wide. Those tiny little things you see in the sort of on the front counter of Waterstones or Smiths, and it's the Life and Times, a series of all the greats in history. Last week you read about Rasputin. He wasn't impressed.
No.
This
This
week,
book's a little bit thicker than the Rasputin one.
no, it's the same, I think. Was it? Maybe the writing.
It could see the writing or something.
But okay, Che Guevara. Who was Che Guevara? Just now, you learnt to pronounce it, right? And how do you remember? You told me the week how you remembered what his name was.
Shay is like shake, and his surname is like guitar.
Right.
Siobhan.
Okay.
But anyway, right.
Tell us what you know, and we'll ask.
Right. First of all, his name isn't really Shay.
Right.
It was something else, and Shay means buddy in wherever he's from Argentina.
Like frankly, if it were
Right,
like you guys,
that's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
like, you guys are gonna
Right.
lose
So anyway, he was born, and he was.
By the way, Carl's not reading this from a book now. This is all out of his own head.
This
Could I
is
just-
not pre-planned notes.
No, this is. I mean, I know it sounds written, but he's just
Right,
ripping
here
on
we
this.
go. Here we go.
Go on.
He was born. He had bad asthma as a kid,
Right.
which I thought was quite interesting because they didn't have cars and that back then, and that's what they're blaming asthma on these days. The bad build-up of traffic and that.
Well, they did have cars, Carl.
Not as many as they have now.
Okay.
So that was something I picked up early in the story.
He had asthma, yeah.
His dad was into he wasn't a politician or anything, but he was, they were into the politics. So he sort of grew up around a family who was into, watching the news and that, keeping up to date on what's going on in the world. So that sort of rubbed off on him. He went to school. He was doing stuff on medicine. Yeah, he wanted to be a doctor, or he thought he did. Anyway, he learned really quick. He did like 6 months work in about 3 months, so he could have some time off school or something. So he took that time off and went to travel South America with his mate on a motorbike.
Yeah.
And he saw all this bad going on in the world. And thought, this is bad, this. I could do something here. I could change this, make it a nicer place to live. So he said, what I'm going to do is join a gang that sort of is against the like the government.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Am I right so far?
Yeah. You're doing very well.
Right, and the woman who he met, who was like running this gang, is a woman called Hilda, who he later married. And Hilda introduced him to Castro,
Right.
who was like the head cheese of the gang, who wanted to change things. And so she said, like, this is I think his real name was
That's great.
Engelbert or something like that.
Ernesto.
What?
Ernesto.
She said, this is Ernesto. He does medicine. Should have him in our sort of army. So when there's injuries and that, he can make people better. So he said, yeah, all right then. So he joined the gang and they went went to sort of. I'm chopping it down a bit.
No.
Oh, sure. You're condensing this.
It's not in real time.
No.
So anyway, so they go.
It feels like it.
See, this is why I just wanted to you to ask me questions.
Well, listen, let's cut to the chase then. So,
Okay,
obviously he made his name as part of the Cuban Revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what date that was?
About, no, I don't.
Okay. And obviously, so he was had a big involvement in that.
Yeah.
In which country was he caught?
It was caught in Bolivia.
Yeah. How did he die?
And Richie.
They executed him.
Yeah.
He shot him,
Correct.
and his
Correct.
last words before he died, right? The guy's there with the gun, and he wasn't scared. He wasn't like crying or anything. He said to the bloke with the gun, he said, "Go on, shoot me. Be a man."
Yeah.
Said,
Cardiff.
and they shot him.
I am pretty
And
sure
did it tell you what happened to him after that, his dead body?
No, but Suzanne was telling me about this the other night. She said there's more to it than that. They stuck it in a glass coffin, didn't
Yes,
they?
Well, no, but before that, they cut off his hands and his feet.
and sent them to the...
No, and because they buried him in different places, and then they buried the body. I think they may have sent the hands to Fidel, but they buried him in an unmarked grave because they didn't want anyone to start using his grave or his tomb as a place of martyrdom. But of course, that just made him even more of a martyr because no one knew where he was buried. So it just meant that he was
Yeah, but
even
that
more
wouldn't
of an
work
icon.
anyway, because if they did find out, that's more places people can go and sort of grieve. Do you know what I mean? If you've got all these different graves,
What with different parts of his body?
well, you've got a foot over there, and it's like, well, you know, oh god,
His head over.
what are you doing?
In preparation for this trip.
Yeah. No,
Oh, so all in all,
so essentially, what's your summary of Che?
yeah, you like him more than Rasputin, don't you?
A lot better bloke than Rasputin. I can understand why he gets one of those little books. Well worth knowing about, and good bloke. Did a lot, you know.
Crammed a lot into his short life.
Yeah. But yeah, interesting bloke.
But just on the subject of Che Guevara, Steve called me up in the week because he was going through the duty log. We love the complaints on the BBC duty log, and someone had written in because one of the Blue Peter presenters was wearing a Che Guevara T-shirt. And what did the bloke say?
Yeah, this is a series of people can phone in and write and complain to the BBC about different things.
Why would you complain about wearing something?
Well,
with his head on
this
it?
was the thing. Is you can phone in, but the best one. I mean, there's been some amazing complaints.
Oh, there's
on
some
there.
great ones.
The best one, my favourite one that wasn't a complaint, but was actually just someone had to phone in. Was what an excellent edition of Kilroy this morning.
Yeah,
Which I
but
thought
there's
was
lots of that. There's things like Esther was superb. Woman, call one.
Woman called. There was a brilliant one I remember once, which was Robbie Williams was wearing a Nike T-shirt on Top of the Pops last night. Product placement on the BBC.
It's just all
So
things like that.
pathetic.
Yeah.
But anyway, this was one phone call. There was a presenter on Blue Peter. She was wearing a T-shirt with Che Guevara's face on it, and someone had written in and said, or someone had phoned in and said, very worried to see a presenter wearing Che Guevara's face on a T-shirt. Are you trying to turn my children into communist revolutionaries?
Yeah.
Imagine who's thinking that. Who's bothering to phone up with that information, Carl?
Yeah.
Who knows what they're going to say about this show?
Yeah.
I mean, you've been championing the work of communist revolutionary.
Luckily, no one listening to this show can either write or operate a phone. So I think we're pretty safe. So thumbs up for Che Guevara.
Yeah.
Well done to Carl there.
Yeah, no, I thought it was
I did
brilliant.
alright, didn't I?
But the thing
Yeah,
is,
that-
you,
that-
you keep saying to us you don't understand why history's interesting, and yet you're clearly interested by that. You remembered that
Carl,
information.
I've got another. I've got a few in the series. Can I give you your next week's homework?
At which point
Go on.
the passenger pays the £68
There you go.
fare in cash.
Read it out.
Hitler.
Now, I find some issues
Hitler,
with that
the life and times of
destination.
Hitler.
We're gonna talk about
1889 to
that in theory, so we're gonna
1945.
hold off
Yeah.
on the cab drive
Do you know much about him?
until then.
What's the significance of that last date? Why did he? What was that last date, Carl? Why do you think he died in 1945?
End of the war.
Yeah.
Which I'm interested in. So this
Yeah.
will have stuff about Anderson shelters and that.
It might not be covered in the Hitler biography, the Anderson Shelter, but
Just check if there's a special Anderson chapter, Anderson Shelter chapter.
Well, I'll look forward to this.
Yeah,
It'll be
yeah.
interesting.
Powdered Egg is page 4.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we're going to play a hip hop.
Yeah, it's time for a hip hop hooray. People are absolutely in love with this feature, Rick, as you well know, and I know you're somewhat jealous of it. This week, I know that Outkast are currently on the playlist, aren't they, with their new single "Whole of the World"? Is that the whole world? Anyway, this is a track from the big compilation Outkast. It's just a sort of compilation of all their greatest hits, and this is a good one. It's called Rosa Parks. Play it,
Sorry,
Carl.
I just looked up what a Vauxhall Cavalier looks like, thinking like, oh, this is gonna be some like super cool car. No, it's like a crappy
From their greatest hits album, that's Outkast, and a track called Rosa Parks.
Like it.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Now, we just had a call from someone impressed by Carl, and Carl's very pleased because this guy has actually done a PhD on Che Guevara. So in theory, whatever subject he chose, in theory, he's probably one of the experts in the world on this particular field. Now, hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello, what's your name?
My name's David.
David, now where did you do your PhD?
At UCL.
At UCL, mild college. And what was the actual title of the PhD?
It was Che Guevara's influence on class struggle in Europe in the 60s.
And what did you think of Carl's performance? And
I thought he did really, really well. The only thing, I'd never heard those last words before.
So Carl actually knows something you don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
Although you presumably not take that as verified information. You probably wouldn't take everything Carl said as gospel. You'd probably look it up yourself, would you?
I probably would have a look, yeah.
Did you know about baby's eyes?
Sorry?
Did you know that baby's eyes don't grow?
I didn't know that.
You see, that's why you shouldn't take things Carl says as gospel, because it'll come out with something, you know, vaguely intelligent, and then say, did you know about baby's eyes don't grow?
Any questions that you'd want to test Carl on? Any thoughts? Anything he missed there on the history of Che Guevara?
I think he did really well, and I think he should be congratulated.
Because Carl has problems with understanding why people are interested in history, and even though he's been reading these books, he keeps saying, why does anyone care about history? Why is it important? What would you say to Carl?
I think he should maybe then look at who Che Guevara did influence and why he still influences people today.
Yeah. Well, he knows that he influenced Citizen Smith, and he knows that if McDonald's ever wanted to swap Ronald McDonald for Che Guevara, it would cost him an awful lot of money. So he is trying to apply it to the modern world. He is having a go.
Well, maybe you should think like why Rage Against the Machine have him on their T-shirts.
Good point, Carl. What do you think of that? What do you think they have on the T-shirts, Carl?
I don't know, maybe that was the design of the T-shirt. Maybe they wanted another T-shirt.
Maybe they wanted Ronald McDonald.
But didn't have any in.
Sure.
And they said, oh, we'll have that one there then.
Well, thanks very much, Dave. Just before you go, do you think Carl would be an interesting subject for a PhD?
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
Okay, well, if you're not...
Well, hopefully one day you'll become a professor and you can maybe set that as some coursework.
Yeah.
Carl Pilkington. Imagine that.
Cheers, Dave.
Imagine having an MA in Carl Pilkington. Thanks very much, Dave.
Okay, bye.
Cheers, bye.
That's good. My teachers never did that.
What encouraged you in that way?
Never said well done. So,
Really?
Yeah.
But you never showed up.
Yeah, you have to be in the same room,
They were too
really.
busy saying, who are you?
yeah.
No, but Mrs. Matthews, my head teacher.
Oh, let's not lay into Matthews again.
Oh, not Matty
she
Matthews.
said,
Not
I'd never-
Grimble Matty Matthews.
I'd
we used to call
never
her.
be a high flyer.
If she could see you now.
The Severn Bridge.
What did she say? You'll never be a high flyer.
She said that to me, mum and dad,
Really?
on a parents' evening.
What did
And that was after I'd played the drums in Little Donkey.
She clearly didn't know what she was talking about.
I forgot in it's opposite.
R.E.M.
Everything
with
has to
Orange
be a
Crush on
little
XFM
different.
104.9. Well, nearly 20 minutes to go. Ricky Gervais with me, Steve and Carl. Carl, what did you point to me then?
Just reminded me.
Go on.
Orange Crush. Do you know we were talking the other night about contraceptives?
No, you said to me,
Okay, we are way off track.
I've got to do lots of homework. You look up how they used, in the olden days, how they used to use elephant dung as a contraceptive. And I went, what? And he went, no, look it up. You give me those things. I said, I don't know. Was it they put, when you're running around with dung on the end of your knob, no woman really wants to go near it. Is that how it worked? And he went, come on, you give me things to do.
If you've just written a PhD on how to use elephant dung as a contraceptive, please get in touch.
And I
I will
found
give the
out
number in a minute.
it's not elephant, it was crocodile.
Oh, right.
Why?
But, yeah, Orange
Sorry,
Crush.
no, you can't. No, whoa.
What?
That. What do you mean? It was crocodile dung. How do they use crocodile dung as a contraceptive?
I don't know.
Suspension bridge.
Right, go on, Orange Crush, yeah.
So Orange Crush, what it was, I was trying to look up that thing about crocodile stuff, using it, and came up with another one saying that they used to use a lemon, sort of shaped right, and the put it on, and the citric acid in it would kill the sperm.
Right.
So they would wear the lemon on the end of the knob.
Was that erotic?
It worked.
Listen, I'll try anything, Carl, mate. If that works.
yeah.
If the ladies like that. I mean, could it be anything? Could it be like, a melon?
Kumquat?
Yeah, maybe. In my case.
What's those hairy ones?
Yeah.
Anyway, it just reminded me when Orange Crush.
Well, thanks very much for that, Carl. It's and that I didn't even ask him to
No.
research that. He just,
So Orange Crush reminded you of the lemon contraceptive. Okay. Jolly good.
you could use it as a little lemon squeezer, couldn't you? It could be like a novelty lemon squeezer. You just stand in the kitchen, and then when someone would do it, just come along and go on the end of your.
Did you make this lemonade yourself?
I did. It tastes funny. It tastes funny. Okay, yeah.
Would you, Carl, this is a quick question to you. Would you ever sort of find yourself in a situation where you might confuse a woman's breasts with mountains? Is that a concern for you, do you think?
No.
Not a problem for you?
Well, not if they're small and humble, I would.
That's what I'm hoping. That's what, fingers crossed.
If they were small and humble, then I'd pretty much not confuse them with mountains.
Thank God. But I mean, if they were large and sort of pendulous.
And with like quite rocky with snow on top.
Exactly.
Then I'd go, hold on, love.
Wait a minute.
Hold on, love. I was into this, but now
Exactly.
I feel like I'm alone.
Carl, do you know what we're talking about?
Who has done that?
I'll give you a clue. One more time. See, my breasts are small and humble, so you don't confuse them with mountains. Shakira.